You ever wonder how food gets on the restaurant table? Think about it. You go to a restaurant, pour over the menu, place your order, and then voila, the food appears, and you don't give it a second thought. Well, spoiler alert, it was probably delivered by a Sysco truck. And that's not hyperbole. Sysco is a global food service industry leader that serves 700,000 customer locations globally through 333 distribution sites, with a broadline operation business segment that focuses on delivering food and non-food products to away-from-home independent and chain restaurant dining locations. And Marie Robinson is the RockStar who serves up the deliciousness on a scale that, when you take a moment to think about it, can melt your mind. You're delivering food at the home away, the restaurants, right? Anything I've had at a restaurant probably came on a Sysco truck at some point.
One way to think about it, anywhere you consume food away from home. So restaurants are the obvious answer. There are schools, there's universities, there's cafeterias, there's hospitals, there's prisons, there's assisted living centers. So in a hotel, those little pantries.
Yeah.
I
had something from that last night. That was my dinner when I got in.
That was probably from Sysco.
Food we just take for granted. We sit down at the restaurant, it shows up. I don't think about it. How much work and what challenges are you fielding that keeps that
So I do think the pandemic, there's the good things that came from it. The good things that came from it were around supply chain resiliency and supply chain agility. You know, in the past, probably the decade leading up to the pandemic, it was all about, just-in-time inventory, narrowing down your supplier base to leverage your volumes to get the best prices. We're all rethinking that, I think, and so making sure we're even rebuilding our network infrastructure, the systems infrastructure, to make us much more agile. So that now because let's face it, natural disasters, some of the statistics that you read, for example, from the Red Cross, right? I happen to be very involved with the Red Cross, it's a passion of mine. And they would tell you that their historical model of activating to respond to 5 to 7 large events across the United States in a year, it's been shattered. They're now responding to something like 25 a year. And so you can no longer just align around 1 or 2 big things. You have to be able to respond to lots of little things happening at once. You look at the California rains and Snowmageddon that just happened. I need to be able to easily pivot service from one location to another. And that's been quite the infrastructure rebuild that we've been going through over the past few years. But in the end, it will make it much more likely that if there's any type of natural disaster in Ventura, California, I can flip and support them from LA. In the past, that was a pretty hard thing for us to do.
Interesting, and I mean, it's almost a issue of when now, as you point out. I mean, you point out the Snowmageddon, but wildfires, tornadoes ripping across the Midwest.
Houston in January.
Right?
Tornadoes in Houston in January.
Right. Droughts, heat waves, floods, hurricanes, wildfires. Those are just a few of the devastating ways that climate change is impacting the environment, and that isn't lost on Sysco. The EPA is on record stating that the transportation sector is one of the largest contributors to anthropogenic U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles make up 81% of the U.S. transportation sector's greenhouse gas emissions. That's why Sysco announced a science-based goal to reduce its direct emissions by 27.5% by 2030, and deploying EVs is a significant part of its efforts to accomplish that goal. Last year, Sysco announced a letter of intent to deploy up to 800 battery-electric Freightliner e-Cascadia Class 8 tractors serving Sysco customers by 2026, and that is just the beginning. Last time we talked, you have a goal, 800 Class 8 EVs by 2026, I think, in the broadline operation, right? And that's 2,500 by 2030.
2,800.
Oh, 28. That's new.
2,800 by 2030.
Okay, so excellent.
Yeah, and the first LOI, the first letter of intent that we wrote was for 800.
Right.
And that's important because for our partners to actually commit to the production capacity, they need us to make commitments more than what we might be buying this year or just a few to pilot.
For sure. Well, and in the realm of fleet and truck life cycles too, that's like tomorrow.
Yes.
In terms of life cycles, it sounds like that's 3 or 4 years away. It's like no, it's one truck life cycle.
And it's then looking at that ramp. So we have committed to purchase 100 in our next fiscal year. We will have 40 by the end of this summer. Our fiscal year starts in July.
Okay.
So we've got a little head start with 40 commitments by December, but then a total of about 100 in our fiscal 24. And those, to get ahead of that, we try to build the infrastructure first before the trucks show up.
Okay, right.
And so we have live plans underway for 5 infrastructure builds in fiscal 24.
How do you feel as you go through the process and face some of those infrastructure challenges and getting the equipment? How's it going?
It's actually going well. Just last week, I was out at our Riverside, California operating site, and it will be our first electric vehicle hub.
Right.
So at that site today, we have 11 electric vehicles, 5 electric refrigerated trailers.
Okay.
We have 20 pumps up and running, dual-sided charging stations. We're building another row of 20 double pumps. And the infrastructure is massive. When you see it, we were laughing. It looks like a Buc-ee's for trucks on our back lot.
Yeah. Does it have snacks? Can I get the snacks?
Well, it is a Sysco building, right? So you can have all the snacks that you want. And then behind that is the battery storage facility that we've had to build. It'll store a little over 4 megawatts of electricity.
Right.
And we've added an additional 1.5 megawatt solar generation to the roof there.
Right.
And what's been interesting is that it'll probably only be California where we see the need for the solar backup. And that's all around their peak capacity, the way they charge electricity now with that really broad window.
Right.
So it's not so much about the failure of the grid. We're not as worried about that. We're more worried about making sure that we're good partners with the utility there.
To put this into perspective, 1.5 megawatts of solar generation, 40 dual-sided charging stations at a single location, 800 electric trucks by 2026, and 2,800 by 2030. These are huge commercial EV investments, certainly among the largest in North America. Sysco is serious about making sustainability a reality, and it's ready to rock.
Our delivery partners love them.
Okay.
So the response has been, we have a couple of partners. We've had 3 or 4 kind of consistently on the road, really testing it in the Riverside environment.
Right.
I asked one of the drivers on Friday, I was like, do you have people come up when you're doing the delivery? He's like, yeah, we do. They're like, what is this? The truck is very obvious with all of the green decal on it. And so it is drawing attention. We've actually had now requests from very important customers where they have actually asked that we deploy our prototype Class 6 straight truck for delivery to their property. So I think that, we think a lot about the investment that we're making, the business impact eventually, but you think about the place in a B2B world. I'm a Class 3 or a emitter for our largest customers. And as they make their own public goals and statements, if Sysco is the biggest committed player in this space, those customers are going to give more business to us.
Right. I look at what you're doing with sustainability and all the investment. That's a lot of money with a lot of questions to still be answered.
It is.
And we're all in the business to make money. There's got to be ROI.
There
and
has
it would
to be.
be super easy just to keep buying diesel trucks and say, well, by 20, whatever, we'll do, like we talked about before. But even just approaching that and going so heavy in that investment, I feel like it takes a lot of courage and a lot of hard work to make that a reality.
Connecting the world to share food and care for one another. That's a pretty powerful 10 words. And because of that, A real purpose-driven company makes decisions guided first by their purpose. And this investing in the globe, I think the theme of Earth Day this year was investing in the globe.
Yeah.
We believe that's what we're doing. And we also believe that as the largest food distributor on the planet, it's our obligation. We do believe others will follow once the path is started. But let's face it, California, the regulations that are coming, and they're not going to come tomorrow, but they're coming. Yeah. And if you don't start the work now, you will not be able to suddenly wake up in 2035 and go, oh, I'm going to buy electric trucks, right? So by being in the forefront, there is a business advantage.